Welcome back to Transport Fever. I am Railroad Tycoon Rever, and I am hoping that I will live up to my name, or my title, I should say. I have paused the game here for a specific reason. There was a bit of a debate of a certain subject about surrounding the train stations and the city demand. If we come in here, let me pin Des Moines, and Des Moines has 106 total demand, and we're already supplying 57 of it. And one of the comments that I got from Obsidity 2, was that you can't drop off more than the demand of to any one city, and also that you had to have a train station that was longer. Now, I had read about the train station before, but then reconfirmed it, and now we're about to confirm it again. We have train number 9, and let me cause that to pin itself. Train number 9 is carrying 115 to Des Moines right now. There he is coming into the station. So you can see we are bringing more fuel into here than is demanded by the city. Right. At the same time, this is only saying like plus 50% because we've only supplied 50%. But let's play time. Well, yeah, play time a little bit. We'll get this money and then I'll pause it again because I want to go buy some things. My money goes up and down so fast with these longer length trains. Oh, and I also did shorten this train. It's no longer 24, it's only 28 because I was thinking once I saw the actual demand or the rate here, I wanted to make it at this point a little bit less or in the ballpark, better in the ballpark of the rate that we need for this city. And to have 24 on there would have just been too much. So now let's pull this guy in before he even, or as he starts to unload, right? We're gonna, as soon as he stops. There you go, boom. So I paused it. If you look, our station ends right, and the track for the station ends right where the platform ends. Let's zoom in even more if we can. 3 of these cars are hanging over the end, and if you look, each car holds 7. So all but one of the cars, these 2 cars have stuff in them. Let's play time, and you'll see we unload all of the stuff. Right, so we unloaded more than the city demanded. And in addition to that, now I don't know that that's a good thing to do. I'm not saying that it is, but as far as the capability of the trains go, it unloaded and the train was not fully in the station because the station track or the platform was not that long. So, and that's what I had thought because of things I had read, and then I never really paid that much attention. So even in my response comment, I said, well, I'm 80% sure that that's the case. So there we go. So you can make trains as long as you want. The station length doesn't really matter. I think what matters is the total capacity, but that only seems to matter when you're picking things up. So for example, if we go up to any station that we're generally picking up stuff like Rochester West here, I think the issue is the storage of these platforms could be limited. So in this case, it's one of the reasons I have 2 platforms here, even though it's really kind of underserved or overserved, depending on how you look at that. So we could store a lot more stuff in this Rochester West refinery. Now, I think one of the reasons we're not is because we're doing a lot better job of getting this oil on train 8 here, right? So we're in some ways, we're flooding our fuel as much as we can and trying to pick stuff up here as much as we can. So when it comes to the demand and the supply, so I hope that clears that up. Like, you don't need long tranks. And there was one guy on the Steam forums, kind of funny. You mean I spent millions of dollars updating it? And then like one guy said to him, well, you could have just tested it or come to the Steam forums and ask the question. So in any event, we found out the answer to that. But another thing that I realized, in the last episode, we added NR oil to fuel. One of the few things I did between the episodes was to change this. Like if we come to line manager, or like I had to come in here, I had this on drop off crude. So it wasn't picking up, it wasn't sending any to be picked up here. And I'll explain why this is working out, or at least it seems like it's going to work out pretty well. But we have another problem, or a related problem. But Norfolk Crude brings oil from here, to Norfolk Oil Refinery. And this rate, which is this one, the second one down, is 83. But it needs to be equal to the rate of these two lines, because this line's going to come pick up oil and take it up to Norfolk, or I'm sorry, up to Rochester and bring fuel back to Norfolk. And then NR, Norfolk Rochester, is bringing just oil up there to make sure we have plenty of oil supply to that refinery, to that fuel refinery. So the problem is, if you look, we have 41 as our rate, and then we have oil fuel Norfolk is 42. So we're barely getting enough crude, and I would rather we just have tons of extra crude here. And I think it's barely keeping up. And then this is also sort of an issue. Let's come to Vehicle Manager, Norfolk Crude, because these vehicles, let's click on the picture, details, very bad. Like these things are overaged. So I don't mind the idea of upgrading all of these. We have a new vehicle type. So can we select them all? And I think I would just, for now, I don't think it's going to cost us that much money because these trucks aren't overly expensive. Replace for $300,000, right? That's to some degree a drop in the bucket. Now, the other thing is we have this flatbed that could haul the crude, but I don't know why you wouldn't just buy the all cargo. Like they seem absolutely identical, at least on the stats that they're showing us, except for this one takes all cargo and the other one doesn't. All right, so we're going to replace all of those, which is going to pretty greatly increase. Well, I don't know how much it increased. It's going to increase. Yeah, see, like now it's saying 100, which is fine with me. Right now, do we need that many? No. Look at that little +2 still out there. Why is that? 7 vehicle. Oh, because these are. Why is it only showing 5? Here, let's close that. Open it again. It's kind of weird. Look, it's only showing 5 vehicles. Let's see. Let's play a little time. We got enough money. I want to do one more thing with the upgrading the vehicles. Yeah, why is it only showing? Yeah, that's okay. That's kind of weird, isn't it? It is saying +2, but it's only showing 5, even though there's plenty of room to show more. I honestly don't quite understand that, but there we go. So those vehicles carry a couple extra. I think we had the ones that carry 5, so now we're carrying 6. Plus, they should be slightly quicker, so we should definitely see an increase in the amount of crude. Now let's pause it. So now the other one we have down here, and these vehicles I think are even older or just as old, is our Norfolk Fuel Depot, right? So what's happening is we need to match the rate of the Norfolk fuel oil right here, because this one does not bring oil back, this top one, but this one does, right? So this one needs to have a rate that's equal to the rate of Norfolk fuel oil, which is 42, but the rate of this one is only 32. So I don't want oil sitting there too much. Now, I don't want this number to be too much higher, but let's just go in here and see if we replace all these with the faster vehicles. Norfolk fuel delivery, right? And then, not clone, replace tarpaulin, because why not tarpaulin? Maybe it's just for looks that you can have or maybe down the road they have a more clear reason that you would have that different vehicle type. So we're going to replace these for 200,000, and then let's come back and look at our rate and see what that made. So that made it 38. So it's really telling me that we probably could add another vehicle. But then the only other problem we have is I don't know if we should rush into that because we haven't really been filling up this train at this point. So maybe we'll just hold off till. Does it actually calculate how much you're dropping off, or does it calculate how much you possibly could drop off? So we'll see. Let's play time again. Yeah, and we'll see. Because I'd like to discuss something else that I think has been a bit of a confusion and or could be. And I think from watching a bit of my videos and talking to Dennis a lot, I think there's some confusion as to what I've done here. And the debate between Dennis and I was, is it better to have a central hub? And he was saying that my thing is too complicated, but I don't, and he knows I don't agree. And I'll show you why. It's only complicated because I have two of the same thing happening. His solution was to cut out a whole production, which I didn't particularly like that solution, for the sake of being more simple. So in other words, what's happening is we bring crude to Norfolk Oil, right? And let's pin that so that it pins. And then we have train line, Norfolk Oil Fuel, plus backed up by bringing extra fuel, and I'll explain that in a minute, over to, or up to, Rochester Fuel, right? So then it brings the oil back and drops it off at this station. That's it. Nothing more to it, right? Forget about everything else that's happening in the world. That's it. Like that's a line, like these two. Now, what's happening at Rochester Fuel is a little more complicated, but let me see if we can't clarify that a little bit. So the opposite thing is happening if we just focus in on oil, fuel. I'm sorry. See, look, you don't even see it on here, right? What I'm going to do is the same exact thing's happening over here where we have Valley Crude. So let me come to here. Now I'm going to pin this one up to here, right? Because this is look, we're actually overflowing this one. But this is the same exact thing as this, right? This is just our oil crude well, which comes into here, Rochester West, which is the equivalent. Do we have not? Is the equivalent of Norfolk Oil. You know what I didn't do? Sorry. Oh, jeez. What was that? We should keep an eye on things here. You know what? Let me pay off some loan while we're doing this. Sorry, I messed you guys up a little bit. Let me just, this here, I'm going to move this down. All right, so this is actually where we're picking up the oil. This is the equivalent. This end, we're doing it with a truck. This one we're doing with a train, but it's the same idea. We pick up crude oil, Valley Crude, brings oil to our oil refinery, which is the same thing as Norfolk Oil. And then, now we're back to talking about oil fuel Rochester, comes all the way down here and goes to Norfolk South, right? And you can see Rochester Oil, it's the equivalent of this here. Now, both of them, the problem that we're having with this, right, is more or less, it doesn't help that I then added in, so this one is then taking fuel back from here, but what I didn't do, we're getting too many windows open. This one is taking fuel. Wait, sorry. Let me make sure I get this straight. So the problem here is that we also throw in this Des Moines line, right? So this makes it a little bit more complicated, but think about this as like a second pickup from here. Now, Dennis really gets irritated by this, in my opinion, because if you look here, while the Des Moines line, which goes over this way, right, back and forth here, while this Des Moines line is coming back, I'd say, well, why don't we just pick up some crude oil and bring it to here? And then you're here, you might as well pick up some oil, which cuts down on the number of trains I need here, right? Because in theory, if Des Moines could pick up all the oil it needed, it would stay ahead of the fuel. Same thing with each one of these lines, is picking up its own oil, bringing it to its own refinery. But these are completely separate, other than they tie together here at a certain point with the Rochester Fuel, right? Rochester Fuel. Does that make sense? But now, Rochester West, they tie together at this oil place here. And again, they're not even really tied together. But then the problem that you end up with, this is like all of this. I hope that helps. Watch it again if it doesn't. But that's the basic idea, is that you have two separate things doing the opposite thing in both directions. One from over here comes to here, and then whatever the other one does, the other one goes back to here with the same exact thing, which makes our line maintenance, much more affordable. And then we have this extra idea of bringing fuel over to Des Moines to supply that. Now, the problem that we're having is supplying this station with enough oils, which is why we added this NR oil. Now, the reason is, what I noticed was happening... let's pin some things. Pin this one up here. Oh, geez, I didn't mean to do that. Right? The problem that we had... Here, let's put this one in the middle. And then I'll put this one on one side and this on the other. Because it kind of looks like it's balancing, right? The problem that I had... Oh, look, Rochester Fuel is filling up. Yeah, I was afraid this might happen because we can't hold enough. So this is where I think we might need to upgrade this station at some point. And I kind of knew that was coming. I didn't really deal with it quite yet. So we might upgrade that so this stops happening. And we'll see how that, because somebody else said that it doesn't really matter as long, it has to do with the frequency that's causing a problem. But this is great to see. This means that we're maxing things out much better than we were 5 minutes ago or 10 minutes ago. But let me go back to what I was saying. Sorry for the thing. So the problem is Rochester Fuel here needs to get oil from Norfolk Oil Station and Rochester West Station. Right? That's in part because Des Moines is getting its fuel from here. So I need to get extra fuel in a sense. But I don't think it was balancing in the same proportions. In other words, Des Moines was using a lot more fuel, but it wasn't picking up a lot more fuel from Rochester West because this Oil Fuel Rochester was taking some of that oil. So in order to balance this out a little bit better, by adding this extra oil run, I'm bringing more oil up from Norfolk, which balances out these two stations, which represent oil refineries, to bring more oil to here. Now you can see I'm maxing out this station. And let's see, how are we doing? See, so when we come up here, we're going to drop even more oil off because he just picks up the excess, I guess you could call it, from here and then brings it over to here. And then the same thing happens, or the Oil Fuel Norfolk will bring its load of oil up. Boom. Now let's see, does this fill this train up completely? Now there's only so much we want to supply to Des Moines at that point. Let's see what happens here. So, yeah, look, he's going to fill up completely, which is really all that we want to supply, right? Like, we're just sending as much over there as we would ever want. But the good news is, look, we got a fuel oil train that's completely filled to the gills. And then the question would be, do we want to... I think we need to increase the platform over here. Right? If we were to configure this station... Yeah, let's... Oh, no. Can we... I just want a cargo platform, right? Yeah. All right, so let's see. I don't know if that works out to just increase the capability of it. Let's see. Yeah, so our things went away there. Now, I'm not sure, like, it's not blue anymore. So that should have, I think each one of these increases your cargo capacity. And you can also have, like, a bigger cargo station. Now, could we, just out of curiosity, and I don't really understand all of this. Okay, so it's a little too big for that one. Okay, but we could do this one. Well, let's see what happens. Let's see. I don't want to just waste money for no reason. Let's get out of there. Let's take a look at our lines and see if we think we're doing a little bit better. So this train's completely full. Norfolk oil delivery is doing quite well. Must have just got a delivery down there, but again, this rate needs to be above this one. Yeah, so let's head down there the easy way. Do we have? Oh yeah, look at that. So we need to get. And then the other problem that we may have is that this station may be getting filled up. So we might want to consider, because we're getting a bigger load in. Now, does it tell us? Yeah, it doesn't really tell us. It would be a little bit nice. Yeah, see, look, we got this symbol. So let's do the same kind of thing here. Now, I'm not sure. Let's configure this. And since we're coming to this side, I think we're going to get a cargo platform like right there. There you go. Now, see, I don't know if that's just a graphics thing, but like it was in there, right? Or else these two wouldn't be sitting here. See that? Or three wouldn't be sitting there. I don't know if that speeds up the process of loading and unloading, but we're going to have a problem. Is this our oil train? Yeah, good. So it's not our... Good, we're getting even more oil here. I can tell he's going to fill up more than he did the last time, so that's nice. All right, so now what I want to do is we need to get this oil delivery. See, look, I think we just saw one of those disappear. So let's go back over to our depot while we got a couple bucks. As a matter of fact, I'm even just going to pause it so this doesn't... All right, and I'm going to buy... Well, let's see. Let's do some calculation if we can. So we want to look at the rate that we have on the fuel delivery. So we have 5 vehicles at this point, and it's giving us a 40, which is a rate of 8 each. Right? And we need to get this above 44. So really just one more, if that's right, should be enough. All right, and then we'll put it on the line of, let's come back here. And we're at 48, and Norfolk Oil, it's the only one dropping off oil here, is at 44. All right, so let's play it again. Well, there we go. You know what I'm going to do is keep paying this loan down if I can, because why not? Because I don't plan on spending money in the next minute. So what I'd like to do now is just let time run for a little while and see if we run into any issues with this. I hope my explanation cleared things up for you as far as what I'm doing. I believe this will work out pretty well in the long run. I know a lot of these are in red. I don't get too excited about this. Let's take a look at our account and our chart. Oh, we lost some money, but then did we have... Yeah, see, we had $600,000 in expenditures. I guess that makes sense that you would show that, the investments. But like we really would have barely made any money, but that, again, the timing of things. So let's see what happens when we get into the next. Like we made, yeah, $2 million here, and then all of a sudden this one was a little bit lower. So let's see if our new little improvements made any difference. And then when we come back, what I'd like to try to do is maybe save up enough money to buy a passenger train or two, and maybe make an improvement or two to the cargo and the Norfolk. So let me save up enough money and just see how it goes for 10 minutes or 20 minutes, and I'll go to fast forward mode. But I'd also like to talk about putting in a station in Norfolk. And then with that station, we can talk about maybe getting passengers, or we could just talk about getting passengers from Rochester. That might even be better, Rochester to Des Moines, and then what we would need to do to kind of make that happen. All right, well, let me save up some money for a minute, see how this goes, and I'll come back if there's any catastrophes or if but when we're ready to go to talk about passengers or fix some problems. But let me let a little bit of time run forward. All right, see you in a minute. Okay, once again, I paused it just to catch it in time to buy a vehicle because it's awful hard to catch it to buy a vehicle and then not have the money go down. So we're doing okay. If we were to take... Here, let me make sure that doesn't close. If we take a look at our chart, we lost money this last quarter. So we were doing okay, and then we're doing worse. And I think I'd like to try one more thing, and so maybe we won't get to buy passenger vehicles, which may be okay because we'll see about upgrading to passengers in the next episode. Let's see how it goes. But I've noticed that we have a lot of crude. Now, the Des Moines train is just right there, so he just picked it up. But we're sort of, I don't know that we might want to upgrade the amount we can hold here, but I think we could just get a lot more. And this train number 7 is the Valley Crude. And I would like to manage that vehicle and let's just replace it. All right. And I think I'd like to get a Baldwin because it'll be a little bit faster. At least it'll hit its max speed. Plus it's much more powerful as far as what it can pull. And then I'd like to put 14 cars instead of the 8 that we have on now. So let's see. It's 4. $14, right? So the 14 cars should definitely up how much crude we're getting from here. It's going to cost us 3.2. So I actually went and borrowed the money, and I'm going to replace that vehicle with this one. So hopefully we'll get a lot more crude oil. And the reason that I'm thinking along those lines is that this Rochester has been running back and forth, not completely full. Same thing with the Norfolk. So while we got a few extra bucks, I have pre-calculated this out as far as how much I probably needed to borrow. What I would like to do is just up the rate of this because we also have, if we look at this station, let's close this train not to confuse things too much. We have quite a bit more crude that we could be getting to here, and I don't think there's any problem with dropping off too much other than, it might be wasting money. But if we look at Norfolk Oil here, it's not like we couldn't use more because they're not always necessarily filling up when they come down here. So let's up, these vehicles. We have 7 currently on Norfolk crude. So let's try like 2 more. Does that seem like it would be at least maybe 3 more? We'll go for the gusto, right? So we're going to buy 1, 2, 3. And then we're going to set all of those to Norfolk crude. All right. And then we can close this. So hopefully that will start, and then let's just play because now time will tell. And what I'd like to do to wrap up the episode in a sense is just run it forward some more and then see what happens. And if I haven't said this, I'll catch you right in the middle. Those that waited till almost the end of the video, thank you very much for all your comments and patience with my understanding this. I don't want to get into too many more things until I really can see what affects this and what we need to do. Because when we move to the next thing, whichever that is down here, we're going to have a similar setup, and I'd like to understand how this balancing works out and what the weaknesses are and the things that you need to do. And I feel like I'm quite a percentage of the way towards that understanding, 80, 90%, but you can see I'm not quite really ramping this up. And I feel like if we can understand how to make this happen, I don't think there's anything in this game we can't make happen. And it means we may fail at times. I'm okay with that. At some point we may say, well, it was dumb to do all these trucks. Why don't you just do a train back and forth? Or, there's little things we could do, like get rid of this oil delivery and just have the train come back to Norfolk and build a station there, drop the fuel off, which we will do, and that will be probably when we talk about a passenger thing. But again, I don't want to complicate it too much. I'd rather get a really good understanding of what's going on here. So let's see what happens with the increased rate here. So you can see, look, Norfolk crude is up to 170 delivery. So I'd like to see just like tons of oil sitting here. So that's oil seems to be our weak point here. So let's see what happens when this guy starts picking up much more with the more powerful locomotive and more trains. So let me play time forward a little bit more, and hopefully we'll see a nice increase. Here, let me show you guys so you can see it. We'll see a nice increase in our profits here. Again, this one we just spent $3 million, so you can't really look at that one. But we'll come back. Let's say within a year I'll come back and we'll just take a look at the beginning of the end of this year and the beginning of next, maybe even. So by January of 1898, we'll come back and we'll take a look. If something else doesn't become clear and catastrophic before that. Which seems like the story of my existence at this point. So, all right, I will see you guys in a minute or two or 20. All right, see you. All right, well, we're back before a year is up. It's been 3/4 of a year, and I paused it again because I'd like to do something else. I've been very diligently, really, this is all I've been doing. I mean, I've been just watching how we're doing with getting oil ready to go. Now, we have a problem here at Norfolk, which we'll deal with in a minute, is that we're now overflowing Norfolk. We're not picking the oil up, which is good. This is kind of what we wanted, right? In other words, more than enough oil for the trains to pick up and head on their way. Now, I'm not overly happy that this one should maybe have a little bit more. But this one, I've been looking at it, and we have a train here that just left the station. So we've been when we pick up the Des Moines crude, it goes down to not being like blue with the exclamation. And then we have this one. Now, this train, which is... Valley Crude 14 holds 98. I think if we were to put another 14 train on here, we may have a bit too much crude coming, but I'm not sure if that's necessarily a bad thing. If we look at Valley Crude and we look at our finances, it's actually making money riding back and forth. So what I'm thinking of is it because we can always add more cars. I'm thinking of buying another train. I think we might as well do it at this depot. And putting it on that Valley Crude, just so we're like slamming it with tons of crude. So let's see. Is there a train here? The 10-wheeler. A lot of these, I'm not sure that it's really worth it for the added expense. Like this one's almost twice as much, and I think we're capped out at 50 miles per hour anyway. So I think we're better off sticking with the Baldwin at this point until maybe the cars upgrade their size, which I believe happens, at least it used to. So let's add a Baldwin. And then what I want to do is let's just maybe say 8 of these cars. All right, so 56 capacity. So we'll have 8 more crude cars. And it's going to cost us $2.6 million. And let's pick a line for this guy, which is going to be the Valley Crude. So hopefully he can get onto that right away, and that's going to slam us even more. If we take a look, the reason I'm doing that is we're doing a lot better with this Rochester fuel at this point. Let me widen this, and I want to show you something else I noticed. You can scroll using the mouse wheel, which is pretty helpful. So what's happening is this guy's getting more and more full, but I'd like to get this one in the blue like this one is. So that's why we just did this. We added Valley Crude, which comes in here and drops off to Rochester West. And I'm hoping that just really starts to saturate it with crude. Even if this line becomes not so profitable, I'd like to see this Rochester line become more profitable. It's doing okay. 17, if we take a look at it this way, we're making good money. Look at that. We made, really good money on that one year, and this is this year. So I think this is definitely having an effect, just slamming this with crude oil. And then on the other side, let's just take a look real quick while we're here. We made our highest profit ever, over 8 million, and our expenses have stayed pretty similar for the last few years. Now this one we didn't make any, and I guess that's just the timing of the trains. But in the last 3 quarters anyway, it was 8 million, basically 4 million. And let's call that 8 million, round it one way or the other, right? So that's 20 million. And in the meantime, each of those quarters, we had a little bit over 4, which we'll call it, 4 times 3 would be 12 plus another 1 because it was about a third, right? 4.32. So that's about 5 million in expenses. I'm sorry, that's not 5 million. It's 13 million in expenses. So we made a good 7 million, and to show you what benefit that had, look, we have no more loan. So hopefully we can stay out of the loan business. which if it's possible will just save us interest, and we can use that as an emergency backup if we make a big mistake in the future. So I think we're really doing pretty well. And what I would like to do is just, before the episode ends, I kind of would like to start the next episode with a, let's go do something else besides balance these things. So I'm going to fast forward some more time off camera. We can play. Wait. Let's go down here. I'd like to just see what the effect of is. So we have this down here, and I'd like to configure this guy and cargo buildings. And I was wondering if I can we just put a bigger, can we go over top of that one? No, we'd have to do this. It'd be nice if we could get it on this side of the tracks, but it's too close to that road. In other words, that way, well, I guess if we ever had to expand this, which I don't really plan on, but I really wish it would tell you more, if this expands the cargo, you would certainly think it would. Medium main building. Yeah, see, we can't, I guess we could get rid of this one and add a bigger, but I would think you'd be better off just adding the bigger here. Now, does this need another road connection to be effective? Let's just put it in here, and it's only 17 grand, and we'll just see, does that immediately, okay, well, at least this doesn't have it did help a little bit, because this one's not blue anymore. So maybe that'll even out as we play time. All right. Oh, and the other thing I did do is I put a couple more vehicles on here. We're down to 128. Oh, there we go. I just went right back. So that didn't seem to... Yeah, I need to look into what that did. It doesn't seem to have increased the capacity that you kind of think it would, right? Or is it just more about making a street entrance, or did I just do it wrong? Maybe you guys have a comment on that, but I'm not too worried. As long as we have enough for the trains, I'm okay, right? So, same thing here. I want to really keep this Rochester line in particular. The reason I pointed to Rochester more than this other one is because this one is just helping this one, if you know what I mean. So as long as we're getting enough fuel, close this, like that, and zoom up there. As long as we're getting enough fuel to fill that Des Moines train, I'm happy. And same thing with the Norfolk train, which we seem to be doing. So it's really more about getting a bit more oil to Rochester. So I think we're there. I think that this is going to be pretty good. We're making good money. We're out of debt. And like I said, I just want to forward a little bit. Rather than end the episode here, let me show you guys the effect of that last little change, and then we'll have another episode. All right. See you in a minute for a last recap. Well, here comes our Des Moines train, ready to go. Going to get filled up completely, and we're even losing here. I think we're in great shape. There's one thing more I'd like to do is if we looked at Valley Crude here, I would manage the vehicles. And I think what I'd like to do is take this vehicle and let's select it here. Let's close it so it doesn't make quite so much noise. But then I would like to edit this vehicle. I think we're taking too much now. So what I'm thinking of doing is taking 2 off of this one and then go to this one, right? Edit the vehicle and add, well, if we add 2 back, let's make them both 10, right? So then we're going to take this one and just even them out, but it'll be a little bit less overall. So that, because I think I might even have to take more off. And if it's a bit of a waste of money, I'm kind of, okay, I keep clicking on that. It makes more noise. All right, let's take 2 more. All right, cost us a little bit of money, but there you go. So hopefully, let's see what that does to our rate here. So our rate is going to go down a little bit, but it's still way higher than I think we needed. So I don't want these guys running empty on their way back and forth too much. So between the episode, I may take them off a little bit. Let's just see what happens. I don't know if they'll start shipping a bit more, but for example, this guy's leaving the station. and he's not full. So we may even take a couple 20. We had about 22 a minute ago, so we may end up taking more off of there. Let me just, I'll keep an eye on it, but I'm not too worried about it as long as we're getting good oil here, and even in some ways more important, good fuel here, which we seem to. So what's really happened is, even in, I think it's been about 6 months or 8 months since I paused it, and now we're back. These are definitely a lot more profitable. Just you could just look at the numbers here and see that they're full, much larger percentage. This guy must be on his way back, but if you look, we're completely full going to Des Moines. We're doing much better with this. Now the Rochester, one of these trains is probably coming, back out of Rochester, so he's empty. But they've been doing a lot better. You can see the other train is 77 out of 98. 98's the total for each of these trains. Oil completely full on the Norfolk line, and if we look, we have to go to here. This is where Norfolk gets its stuff from. There's 33 waiting, so that's a little bit concerning. Are they waiting too long? Why is that not going to get me more? But then again, one of the things is this town just doesn't need much more than that, so we're a little bit over efficient, I think. 38. Say, so it's sort of one of those deals where we're could be more efficient. Now the Norfolk also only has one train, so that's sort of part of the problem. And I think it's right when people have given me the comment that you might be better off with two smaller trains with a little bit more frequency than trying to do it all with the massive trains. I don't think it's bad to do it with the massive trains, but overall, I don't think you save quite enough money. If you're going to be losing product like this, you'd be better off with a train coming a little more often, it seems. So we'll confirm that over time. But I really feel pretty comfortable that even if I don't understand it 100%, that we did it, right? We really are going to turn this to be, my prediction is very massively profitable. If you look, we already have this much. So we made our greatest profit ever the last quarter. I expect our expenses to stay pretty much right here. And you can see this quarter we've already made 7.8 and our expenses are going to be 4.7. So that's in the ballpark of 3 million, and then we made in the ballpark of 4 million in the last quarter. So this quarter's going to come to an end pretty soon here. So what I'll do is I'll fast forward a little bit of time, but I don't think I'm going to do too much in between the episodes because I think we really got it. I mean, I think this is the way to do it. So if you guys have any questions about what I did, or if I didn't explain something particularly well, let me know. And I think we're ready to expand into other things. And what I'll do is try to hold off on recording, though I'm not sure how it'll work out till I get some of your comments about this, because it's a good time to step into the next thing. And here's my thoughts for the next episode. Build a station in Norfolk that we eliminate this delivery from here, from the trucks. Right? How is our trucks as far as this is Norfolk delivery, finances? See, we're losing money on that. And I'm thinking what we could do is bring that train back in with fuel to Norfolk and then just have them run over to here, fill up with oil, go back, get some fuel, come back to here. So it'll be like a three-stop thing. 1, 2, like a little bit of he'll have to replace this truck line there. But then what that also lets us do is talk about passenger lines. Now, we might need to make some track improvements if we put too many trains on there, but we already have a train station in Rochester, and we already have one in Des Moines. Maybe we'd start there. But again, I think building a station, and it looks like we're going to have money, a lot of money. So we'll be able to do that. I will fast forward a little bit of time till I'm pretty confident, made like pre-plan what we're going to do a little bit. But, once we get up to we could probably buy 2 trains with this. So we'll get up to where we know we could buy 3 trains, put another station in here, think about how we'll get the train over to here, and try to think about, these trains are always going to be a bit slower than our passenger trains. If we come back to our depot. There it is. These passenger trains, passenger cars are less limited in their speed, 80 kilometers. But if we have all these 50-kilometer trains on the track, it's not going to be that much of an advantage. But again, I think anything you can do to fill the tracks up, the better, right? Because we're paying every month for all this track maintenance. So if we can get some more passengers going from the different stops here, we might have to make like another Y in here. And who knows, we may even have a passenger express line eventually. But it may cause us, in other words, to upgrade some things, like, you know, wherever that may need to be. So let me know what you guys think. We'll have to certainly maybe upgrade some stations. So I'll wait for some money to come in, and then we'll come back. But like I said, I'm going to try to hold my horses on recording until I get your comments, at least a little bit, from when this episode goes up. All right. Well, thank you, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you have a wonderful day. This is actually New Year's Day for me, so Happy New Year if it's a little belated by the time you hear that. I think I forgot to say it in the episode that was going to fall on New Year's. But anyway. All right. Well, I hope you have a wonderful year, and I will talk to you guys in the next episode. Take care. Bye-bye.